3 years. Married to the Mafia boss, no intimacy. She was ready to leave, until... Vanessa's hand trembled as she placed the last folded dress into her suitcase. 3 years of marriage, and this was what it came to. A woman packing her life away at 2 a.m. while her husband worked in his office downstairs, completely unaware that his wife was about to disappear. Or maybe he'd notice in the morning. Maybe he'd care. Probably not. The diamond ring on her finger caught the moonlight streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows of their Seoul penthouse. It was worth more than most people earned in a lifetime. Beautiful, flawless, cold. Just like everything else in this marriage. Lee Kwang had given her the world, everything except himself. Vanessa zipped the suitcase with shaking hands, each metallic click feeling like a gunshot in the silence. 3 years ago, she thought she was marrying the man who saved her life. Instead, she married a ghost who happened to share her bed, but never touched her, never held her, never looked at her like she was anything more than an expensive vase he needed to keep from breaking. She couldn't do this anymore. She wouldn't. The bedroom door was 20 steps away. Freedom was just beyond it. A new life where she wasn't slowly dying from loneliness, in a mansion that felt more like a mausoleum. But as Vanessa reached for the door handle, something made her pause. A sound from downstairs. Not Kuang's usual footsteps, but something else. Something wrong. Then she heard the glass shatter. 3 years earlier, Vanessa had been a completely different person. She'd worked at a small cafe in Itaewon, serving overpriced coffee to tourists and businessmen, dreaming of saving enough money to open her own bakery someday. Life was simple, ordinary, safe. Until the night 3 men followed her home. She'd taken her usual route through the alley behind the cafe, the shortcut she'd walked 100 times before. But that night, she wasn't alone. 3 men, their intentions crystal clear in their predatory smiles, blocked her path. Vanessa ran. They were faster. She screamed. No one came. She fought. It wasn't enough. Then Lee Kwang appeared. Vanessa didn't see where he came from. One moment she was being dragged toward the darkness. The next, her attackers were on the ground, groaning in pain. Kuang stood between her and them, his expensive suit somehow still immaculate despite the violence, his dark eyes burning with something that made Vanessa's breath catch. "Are you hurt?" His voice was surprisingly gentle for a man who'd just dismantled 3 grown men with his bare hands. Vanessa shook her head, too shocked to speak. "Good." Kuang stepped closer, and that's when she saw the tattoos peeking out from his collar, intricate designs that marked him as someone dangerous, someone powerful. "I'll take you home. It's not safe here." She should have been afraid of him. Instead, she felt safe for the first time since the attack began. That was her first mistake. Kuang didn't just take her home that night. He stationed guards outside her apartment. He had his people investigate the attack, discovering connections to a gang war Vanessa didn't know existed. Threats she couldn't see, dangers she couldn't fight. "You're not safe," he told her 3 days later, standing in her tiny apartment like he owned it. "Those men were hired by people who want to hurt me. They saw you with me. They'll come back." "Then I'll move," Vanessa said, trying to keep the fear out of her voice. "I'll disappear. They'll forget about me." "They won't." Kuang's expression was unreadable. "There's only one way to protect you completely. Marry me." Vanessa laughed. She actually laughed thinking it was a joke, but Kuang didn't smile. "I'm serious. As my wife, you're untouchable. No one in Seoul would dare harm you. You'd have everything you need, everything you want, and you'd be safe." "That's insane," Vanessa whispered. "That's reality." Kuang moved closer, his eyes intense. "I'm asking you to trust me. Let me protect you the only way I know how." Looking back, Vanessa realized she'd been seduced by the fantasy. The handsome, dangerous man offering her protection, security, a life beyond her wildest dreams. She'd thought it was romantic, like something out of a movie. She didn't understand that Kuang wasn't offering her a marriage. He was offering her a gilded cage. They married within a month. The ceremony was beautiful, expensive, attended by Seoul's elite. Kuang held her hand during the vows, his grip strong and steady. When he kissed her, Vanessa felt sparks, hope, possibility. That was the last time he touched her. The first night in their penthouse, Vanessa waited for Kuang to come to bed. She'd put on the silk nightgown she'd bought for their wedding night, her heart racing with anticipation and nerves. Kuang came in at midnight, still dressed in his suit. He glanced at her once, his expression unreadable, then headed straight for the walk-in closet. "Good night, Vanessa," he said without looking back. He slept on the couch in his office. Vanessa lay awake all night, confusion and hurt warring in her chest. Maybe he was tired. Maybe tomorrow would be different. Tomorrow wasn't different. Neither was the day after or the week after or the months that followed. Kuang provided everything except himself. Designer clothes appeared in her closet. Jewelry materialized on her dresser. A credit card with no limit sat on the kitchen counter with a note in his sharp handwriting. "Buy whatever you want." But what Vanessa wanted couldn't be bought. She wanted her husband to look at her the way he had that first night in the alley, with intensity and concern and something that felt like caring. She wanted him to hold her hand over dinner, to ask about her day, to kiss her goodbye in the morning. She wanted to feel like his wife instead of his. Responsibility. Years passed in this strange limbo. Kuang left early, came home late, and treated her with the same polite distance he'd show a house guest. They existed in the same space but lived in different worlds. Vanessa tried everything. She learned to cook his favorite meals. She studied Korean until she was fluent. She memorized the names and faces of his business associates, becoming the perfect hostess when he occasionally needed her to attend events. Nothing changed. Kuang remained a stranger wearing her husband's face. The loneliness was suffocating. Vanessa would wake up in their enormous bed, reach for Kuang, and find only empty space. She'd walk through their penthouse and feel like a ghost haunting her own life. She'd look at her reflection and barely recognize the woman staring back, all dressed up with nowhere to go, no one to see her. The worst part was the not knowing. If Kuang regretted marrying her, why not divorce her? If he was repulsed by her, why marry her at all? If he loved someone else, why keep her trapped in this beautiful prison? The questions ate at her, day after day, year after year, until Vanessa realized she had two choices: accept this half-life or leave. Tonight, she finally chose to leave. The sound of shattering glass snapped Vanessa back to the present. Her suitcase lay forgotten by the door as another crash echoed from downstairs, followed by shouting in Korean. Her first instinct was to run to Kuang. Her second instinct was to run away from whatever danger had invaded their home. But before she could do either, the bedroom door burst open. Kuang stood in the doorway, and Vanessa barely recognized him. His usually immaculate suit was disheveled, his tie gone, his eyes wild with something that looked like panic. "Get back," he commanded, pulling a gun from somewhere beneath his jacket. Vanessa's blood turned to ice. "What's happening?" "They're here." Kuang moved into the room with predatory grace, checking the windows, the shadows, every possible entry point. "I knew they'd come eventually. I just didn't think—" "Who?" Vanessa demanded, fear making her voice sharp. "Who's here?" Kuang finally looked at her, really looked at her, and Vanessa saw something she'd never seen before in his carefully controlled expression. Terror. "The Jung family," he said quietly. "My enemies. They're here for you." The world tilted. "Why would they want me? I'm nothing to you, remember? Just the wife you can't stand to touch." Something flickered across Kuang's face, pain so raw it made Vanessa's chest ache. But before he could respond, the bedroom window exploded. Kuang moved faster than Vanessa thought possible. He threw himself across the room, his body slamming into hers, taking her to the ground as bullets tore through the space where she'd been standing seconds before. They hit the floor hard, Kuang's arms locked around her, his body a shield between her and the violence. Vanessa felt his. heart hammering against her back, felt the tremor in his hands as he held her, felt the fear radiating off him in waves. "Stay down," Kuang growled against her ear, already pulling them toward the bed for cover. "Don't move unless I tell you to." More gunfire erupted, the sound deafening in the enclosed space. Kuang returned fire with clinical precision, each shot deliberate and controlled. Through the shattered window, Vanessa could see shadows moving, hear shouting in Korean, smell smoke and gunpowder. This was real. This was happening. People were trying to kill her. "The closet," Kuang said urgently, reloading his gun without taking his eyes off the window. "There's a panic room behind the shoe rack. Code is 0827. Get inside and lock the door." "What about you?" "I'll handle this. Go." But Vanessa didn't move, couldn't move, because she'd just seen what Kuang hadn't, another attacker climbing through the bedroom doorway, gun raised and aimed directly at her husband's unprotected back. She didn't think. She just grabbed the heavy crystal vase from the nightstand and threw it with everything she had. The vase connected with the attacker's head with a sickening crack. He dropped like a stone. Kuang spun around, saw the fallen man, then looked at Vanessa with an expression of complete shock. "I said get to the panic room," he said. But there was something different in his voice now. Not anger, wonder. "I'm not leaving you." Vanessa's voice didn't shake, even though every nerve in her body screamed at her to run. "We do this together or not at all." For a heartbeat, Kuang just stared at her. Then he made a decision that changed everything. "Stay behind me," he commanded, already moving toward the door. "Don't stop moving, don't look back. And if I tell you to run, you run, understand?" Vanessa nodded. They moved through the penthouse like shadows. Kuang led with deadly efficiency, dispatching attackers with a combination of brutal violence and cold precision that should have terrified Vanessa. Instead, she felt something else entirely. This was who Lee Kwang really was. Not the distant husband. Not the ghost who haunted their marriage. This was the Mafia boss who ruled Seoul's underworld, who made grown men fear his name, who protected what was his with absolute ruthlessness. And Vanessa realized with startling clarity that she'd been his all along. She just hadn't known it. They reached Kuang's office, the only room in the penthouse with reinforced walls and multiple exits. He sealed the door behind them and finally allowed himself to look at her. "Are you hurt?" His hands moved over her arms, her shoulders checking for injuries with a gentleness that contrasted sharply with the violence he'd just displayed. "I'm fine." Vanessa caught his hands, stilling their frantic movement. "Kuang, what's happening? Why are they here?" He pulled away, running a hand through his disheveled hair. "Because I failed. Because I wasn't careful enough. Because loving you made you a target, and I was arrogant enough to think I could keep you safe by keeping you at arm's length." Vanessa's heart stopped. "What did you say?" "I love you." The words came out broken, raw. Kuang turned to face her, and for the first time in 3 years, Vanessa saw him completely unguarded. "I've loved you since the night I saved you. I married you because I couldn't bear the thought of you getting hurt because of me. And I stayed away because everyone I love dies. Vanessa. Everyone." The pieces finally fell into place. "You pushed me away to protect me," Vanessa whispered. "I pushed you away because I'm a coward." Kuang's laugh was bitter. "I thought if everyone believed you meant nothing to me, if I never touched you, never showed you affection, never gave them any reason to think you were my weakness, then you'd be safe. But they came for me anyway. Because I underestimated them. They watched us for months, analyzing every detail, every pattern, and they realized the truth. The wife I never touch, the woman I provide everything for except myself, that's not indifference. That's fear. That's love disguised as distance." Vanessa's eyes burned. 3 years, Kuang. 3 years I thought you regretted marrying me." "I regret that I didn't love you better." His voice cracked. "I regret every night I left you alone in that bed. I regret every morning I walked away without kissing you goodbye. I regret every moment I made you feel invisible when you're the only thing I see." Before Vanessa could respond, an explosion rocked the building. The lights flickered, alarms screamed, and smoke began seeping under the office door. Kuang was already moving, pulling her toward a bookshelf that swung open to reveal a hidden passage. "This leads to the parking garage," he explained, ushering her inside. "My men are waiting. They'll get you out of Seoul, somewhere safe, somewhere the Young family can't reach." "What about you?" "I'm ending this." His eyes went cold, that dangerous mask sliding back into place. "Tonight the Young family learns what happens when they threaten what's mine." "Then I'm staying." Vanessa planted her feet, refusing to move. "You spent 3 years pushing me away to keep me safe. How'd that work out?" "Vanessa, no." She grabbed his jacket, pulling him close. "You just told me you love me. You think I'm going to run away now? You think I'm going to let you face this alone? You could die." The words came out anguished. "I was dying anyway." Vanessa's voice was fierce. "Dying of loneliness in that bedroom, dying a little more each day you wouldn't touch me, dying from loving you while you pretended I didn't exist. At least this way, if I die, it'll be by your side where I belong." Kuang stared at her, emotions warring across his face. Fear, love, desperation, awe. Then he kissed her. It wasn't gentle. It was 3 years of starvation finally, allowed to feast. His mouth claimed hers with desperate hunger, his hands tangling in her hair, pulling her against him like he was trying to fuse them into one being. Vanessa kissed him back with equal ferocity, her fingers clutching his jacket, pouring every lonely night, every unanswered question, every moment of pain into this one perfect connection. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Kuang pressed his forehead against hers. "If you stay by my side," he whispered, "you see everything, the violence, the darkness, all of it, there's no going back." "Good." Vanessa's smile was fierce. "Show me who you really are, Lee Kwang. No more distance, no more pretending, just us." Something shifted in his expression. The careful control crumbled, revealing the man beneath, obsessive, possessive, completely devoted. "Then stay close," he commanded, already moving back toward the office. "Do exactly what I tell you, and watch your husband go to war." Kuang's transformation was absolute. He moved through his office with lethal purpose, opening hidden compartments, pulling out weapons and communication devices. Within minutes, he'd contacted his security team, assessed the situation, and formulated a plan. The Young family had made a critical mistake. They'd attacked Kuang's home, yes, but they'd also revealed their position. Now Kuang knew exactly where they were, and he was going to destroy them. "The attack was a distraction," Kuang explained, his voice cold and analytical as he strapped a knife to his ankle. "While we were busy defending the penthouse, the Jung family moved their main forces into position around the building. They think they have us trapped." "Do they?" Vanessa asked, watching him work with a strange sense of calm. A predatory smile crossed Kuang's face. "They think I'm just a mafia boss who plays it safe, who hides behind walls and guards. They don't know what I'm really capable of when someone threatens what's mine." He handed Vanessa a small pistol. "Do you know how to use this?" "Point and shoot, right? Safety's here." Kuang guided her finger to the correct mechanism, his touch sending electricity through her despite the danger surrounding them. "Aim for the body, not the head, and only shoot if you absolutely have to." Vanessa checked the gun with more confidence than she felt. "I'm ready." Kuang studied her for a long moment, something like pride shining in his dark eyes. "I've been underestimating you." "Don't make that mistake again." They moved through the hidden passage, emerging in the parking garage where 3 of Kuang's most trusted men waited. The men's eyes widened when they saw Vanessa, but Kuang cut off any protests with a single look. "We're going to the Jung family's operations center," Kuang announced, his voice carrying absolute authority. We end this tonight." The ride across Seoul was tense and silent. Vanessa sat pressed against Kuang's side, his arm around her shoulders, his hand occasionally touching her hair, her face, as if reassuring himself she was real and alive. "I used to watch you sleep," he admitted quietly, his voice barely audible over the car's engine. "Every night for 3 years, I'd come to our bedroom after you'd fallen asleep. I'd sit in that chair by the window and just watch you, making sure you were breathing, making sure you were safe, memorizing every detail in case I lost you." Vanessa's throat tightened. "I never knew." "That was the point." Kuang's fingers traced her jawline with heartbreaking tenderness. "I took photographs, filled journals with everything I couldn't say to your face. I was obsessed with you, Vanessa. Completely, dangerously obsessed. And I hated myself for it because that obsession made you vulnerable." "Show me," Vanessa said softly. "After this is over, show me everything." "I will." He pressed a kiss to her forehead. "I'll show you exactly how much I love you. No more secrets. No more distance." The car stopped outside a warehouse in Seoul's industrial district. This was Young family territory, their base of operations, the heart of their criminal empire. Kuang was about to tear it all down. The attack was swift and brutal. Kuang's men moved like a coordinated machine, each one knowing their role, executing with precision. But it was Kuang himself who was truly terrifying. Vanessa watched her husband transform into something primal and deadly. He moved through the warehouse like death incarnate, every movement economical and lethal, every decision instant and perfect. This was Lee Kwang unleashed. The monster Seoul's underworld whispered about in fear, the man who'd built an empire on blood and ruthlessness, and Vanessa had never loved him more. She stayed close as he'd commanded, gun in hand, her heart racing but her hands steady. When an attacker came at them from the side, Vanessa didn't hesitate. She raised her pistol and fired. The man dropped. Kuang spun, shock registering on his face as he saw the fallen attacker, then looked at Vanessa with something transcendent. "Together," she said simply, echoing her earlier promise. "Together," Kuang agreed. And this time his smile was genuine, proud, utterly devoted. They fought their way to the warehouse's center, where the Young family's leadership had gathered, clearly expecting to negotiate from a position of power. Instead, they found themselves facing down Seoul's most dangerous mafia boss and the wife they'd underestimated. "You made a mistake," Kuang said, his voice carrying through the sudden silence. His gun was steady, his eyes cold. "You threatened my family. There's no negotiation, no mercy, just consequences." The young patriarch, an old man with cruel eyes, laughed. "Your wife? The woman you couldn't even touch? You expect us to believe she matters to you?" "She's everything," Kuang said simply. "And you're about to learn what happens when you threaten everything I have." What followed was brutal and efficient. Kuang dismantled the Young family's entire operation in a single night. By dawn, their leadership was dead or in custody, their organization scattered, their threat permanently eliminated. When it was over, when the last enemy had fallen and silence finally descended, Kuang turned to Vanessa. His suit was ruined, blood spattered across his face and hands, exhaustion pulling at his features. But his eyes were clear, focused entirely on her. "Are you hurt?" he asked, just like he had that first night 3 years ago. "No." Vanessa stepped over debris to reach him. "Are you?" "Nothing that matters." Kuang pulled her into his arms, holding her so tightly it almost hurt. "You were magnificent, terrifying and brave and absolutely magnificent." Vanessa laughed, the sound shaky with adrenaline and relief. "I learned from the best." "Let's go home," Kuang murmured against her hair. "I have 3 years of distance to make up for." The penthouse looked like a war zone, but Vanessa barely noticed. Kuang locked their bedroom door, removed his jacket, and finally allowed himself to be vulnerable. I kept journals, he admitted, moving to his nightstand and pulling out a leather-bound book from the hidden drawer. Every day for 3 years. All the things I couldn't say to your face. Vanessa took the journal with trembling hands. She opened it randomly and read, Day 547. She smiled at me this morning over breakfast. I wanted to reach across the table and kiss her. Instead, I left the room. I'm a coward who doesn't deserve her. Day 891. Found her crying in the garden. I stood in the shadows and watched, hating myself for not being able to comfort her. But if I touch her, if I let myself love her openly, I sign her death warrant. Day 1095. 3 years of marriage. 3 years of torture. She wore the blue dress I bought her. She looked beautiful. She always looks beautiful. I wish I could tell her. I wish I could tell her everything. Tears streamed down Vanessa's face as she flipped through page after page of confessions, each one more heartbreaking than the last. I have photographs too, Kuang continued quietly, pulling out an envelope. Of you sleeping, reading, existing. I was obsessed. I am obsessed. You're all I think about, Vanessa. You have been for 3 years. Vanessa looked at the photographs, dozens of candid shots taken without her knowledge. In each one she looked peaceful, unaware, beautiful, evidence of a love so desperate it hid in shadows. I was dying without you, she whispered. But you were dying too, weren't you? Just in a different way. Yes. Kuang moved closer, cupping her face with hands that still trembled slightly. I chose your safety over my happiness, over our happiness, and I'd do it again if I thought it would keep you alive. The threat's gone now, Vanessa reminded him. The Young family is destroyed. So what's your excuse now, Lee Kwang? His smile was slow and devastating. I don't have one. When Kuang kissed her this time, it was different from the desperate kiss in his office. This was reverent, worshipful, a man finally allowed to love the woman he'd denied himself for too long. He laid her down on their bed, the bed they'd shared but never truly occupied together, and showed her, finally, what 3 years of obsessive love looked like when unleashed. His hands mapped her body with aching thoroughness, memorizing every curve, every sensitive spot, every place that made her gasp. His mouth followed, pressing kisses to skin he'd denied himself touching, whispering confessions against her heated flesh. Mine, he breathed. You've always been mine. From that first night in the alley, I knew you were mine. Prove it, Vanessa challenged, her fingers tangling in his hair, pulling him closer. Kuang proved it. Again and again, until the Seoul sunrise painted their bedroom gold, and Vanessa lay exhausted and thoroughly loved in her husband's arms. I have something to confess, Vanessa admitted, drawing patterns on his bare chest. I wasn't actually going to leave. Kuang's hand stilled in her hair. What? The suitcase. I packed it, yes. But I don't think I could have actually walked out that door. She looked up at him. Some part of me always knew you loved me. I just couldn't understand why you wouldn't show it. I'm going to spend the rest of our lives making up for that, Kuang promised, pressing a kiss to her forehead. Starting now. He got out of bed and disappeared into his office, returning moments later with something that made Vanessa's breath catch. Her divorce papers. The ones she'd filled out weeks ago in a moment of desperation. The ones she'd hidden in her nightstand, not having the courage to actually file them. Kuang held them up, then walked to the fireplace and set them ablaze. No more running, he said firmly, watching the papers curl and burn. No more distance. We face everything together from now on. Together, Vanessa agreed. As dawn broke over Seoul, Lee Kwang and Vanessa finally began their marriage properly. No more secrets, no more fear, no more walls between them. Just two people who loved each other desperately, dangerously, completely. And if Kuang still watched her sleep sometimes, if he still took photographs when she wasn't looking, if he still wrote in his journals about how much he loved her, well, Vanessa didn't mind. She'd take his obsessive, protective, all-consuming love over distant politeness any day. They'd survived 3 years of torture disguised as safety. Now they would live the rest of their lives making up for lost time. Together. Always together. If you loved this story, hit that like button. Takes 2 seconds, means everything to me. Appreciate you watching. Now go hug your person if you have one, because life's too short for unnecessary distance.